Hi, and welcome to this week. We are covering the pectineus. So it's the kind of long rectangular strap-like muscle. Its origin is the front of the pelvis, and then it goes down and it inserts right there into the femur. So you could read in your books the more detailed version of it. But basically having a very good general idea of where those are located is extremely helpful, because in your classes people aren't going to know exactly where they are. So weakness in the weakness with the pectineus is very hard to go into this pose, because because if you try to bring one leg in front of the other, it does take a lot of effort. So if your adductors, your pectineus are weak, it's hard to get those knees stacked. And if the pectineus is tight, it's going to be very challenging to come into Baddha Konasana. So you will see yourself or other people with their inner thighs up real high. And it could be a combination of things. It could be their knees, it could be tightness in their hips or injuries in knees or hips. So a way to help out with with Baddha Konasana, you could take a bolster and place it underneath those thighs, or you could kind of wedge a block under the thighs. That would help a lot with comfortability. Then they'd be able to get the inner thigh stretch that the Baddha Konasana can give you. So what the pectineus does is, if you're standing, it helps to adduct the leg, so it helps to draw in. So it works with those adductor magnus, that large inner thigh muscle. It also flexes the leg. So it works with the quad and the hip flexor to help lift and flex the leg. Lastly, it internally rotates the leg. So when it internally rotates, you're going to also engage the tensor fasciae latae, as well as the gluteus medius, the anterior fibers of the gluteus medius. So having those, that knowledge of those muscles, that they work together as a team. So in his book, in Dr. Long's book, he talks about different ways to awaken the pose, awaken the pectineus. And he does talk about coming into Baddha Konasana. So you would just draw the hands in and just start to draw the spine up long, and when the knees start to fall with gravity, that pectineus is going to get stretched out. But again, you could use any kinds of support, whether it is a pillow. So if someone has an injury in their pectineus, in their inner thigh muscle, this is going to feel honestly wonderful to help aid in the comfortability of being in the pose, because as we all know, the poses eventually become effortless. So the other one to help awaken it is the standing Parsvottanasana, and that's just where one leg is in front of the other. One thing I want you guys to notice, my right leg is in front, my left leg is in back. So I'm just using some blocks to help support myself. Again, you don't want to go all out into these poses when you're trying to awaken the muscles. You're just trying to awaken them. You're just trying to connect with them. So with the feet about hip width apart, and the left foot a couple feet behind the right foot, and basically both toes are pointing forward, both legs are extended and straight, the chest is long, and you go point the nose down. But the way to connect to the pectineus is to imagine as though there's a stopper or something that is right in front of the foot that's going to prevent it from moving anywhere. Same thing with the back foot, the left foot, or when you switch sides. So imagine dragging those feet into those stoppers. And what happens is, look at my back left hip. So when you attempt to drag the feet in, that squares the hips. And you could also feel the inner thigh muscles, the pectineus muscles working on both sides, both the right and the left. So you would extend the heart forward and just point the nose down. So not only does it drop the hip down, but it aids in just finding a grounding position and makes the pose a lot more stable. Another way that you could use that is if you come into a low crescent or even high crescent. I'm just going to use low crescents right now. But again, using my right leg as an example, right knee on top of the left ankle, right knee on top of the right ankle, and try to bring your left knee back some if that's comfortable. So again, not going all out by any means. You're just learning to connect to these muscles. You could press down into the hands, or into the blocks. So same idea. Imagine as though a block is behind that right foot. You're going to attempt to drag that right heel back. That gets into that left hip flexor. You're going to lift the heart. And now try to connect into the pectineus like I just did a moment ago. I'm going to attempt to drag my right foot towards my midline as well as my left knee in. So when I do that, that helps to stabilize the pose, and I find more freedom in the torso. So I notice that my pectineus muscles are really working, they're really engaging to help keep me lined up, and my left hip flexor is really getting stretched out. My right hip flexor is engaging. So, and I feel very stable. I feel like I could stay here for a longer period of time. All right. So obviously do that on both sides. Another way to connect to the pectineus, and it's really used when you go into, it's really contracted when you go into Bakasana or crow pose, but excuse me, I'm sorry, I just wanted to refer to something that I just thought of. Okay. And I can't find it offhand, but that's okay. Anyways, the pectineus, how to contract it. Before going into the Baddha Konasana, which I will not show you, I've done something to my wrist and I don't feel comfortable going into any handstands or anything just because of some discomfort in the wrist and the forearm. Anyways, a great way to kind of strengthen the pectineus is using a block. Place the block between the thighs and just try to sit up tall, shoulders down the back. And this could be an abdominal posture as well. You could maybe hinge back a little. And if you prefer, arms could come out, all the while squeezing the inner thighs, holding that block. And maybe you want to add a balance, a Navasana, a boat pose to this, you can. The knees could be bent or the legs could extend. I may be out of the picture, but I think you still get the gist. Heart long. Again, if you want to add the arms extending, you can. And when you come out of this, you're going to feel the inner thighs light and kind of a floaty kind of feeling. But at this point, I would go ahead and give Bakasana a go and just kind of see how it is, because now you'll have that inner thigh strength to squeeze in into those arms. So I hope that helps. And obviously after you've really contracted the pectineus, the inner thigh muscles, you want to stretch them out as well. So Baddha Konasana feels wonderful after that. So lengthening out the spine, and then maybe bending at the elbows, extending through the heart, folding over those feet, maybe dropping the gaze down. So when people are having problems with the pectineus, with the groin muscles, I would say don't have them go all out. Yoga's about balance, and it's something that you just want to work up, strengthening, because you can't strengthen the pectineus overnight, because you use it, probably one of the main muscles that you use that you don't even realize you use it. So slow and steady wins the race, and just having more comfort walking. The flexibility in that pectineus helps you to have longer strides. So having a balance of strength and flexibility just for simple movements is wonderful. So I hope you are keeping up. I know it's sometimes difficult, especially now with the holidays among us. But if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to contact me. And we could